Thanks for the birthday wish.
Oh, happy birthday. I forgot about this. Welcome to Week 15, Big Pick 4, the NFL picking show where the gurus, Big, Danny D, and Baldy B, who is drunk from the Christmas party and couldn't make it to the live show, will give you the best 4 picks for Sunday NFL games, to include the guarantees to Big Danny D and Big Brian B guarantee.
Doesn't have win or loss.
I know, that's a new feature. I don't want to embarrass ourselves.
We had 3-1, damn it.
Well, I know, but usually it's worse.
Yeah, it's true.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now recap Week 14. Big Pick 4 was a 3 out of 4. Big week. What the hell happened to the Steelers?
If that jackass didn't run out of bounds at the 13-yard line, no one's in front of him. All you had to do was run into the end zone, and they cover. That was tough to watch. That guy. That play never worked. That was an incredible play. That throw around play to do at the end of that game, and I think it was Antonio Brown had a clear path to the end zone. The coach wasn't on the field. The defender had fallen down. All he had to do was run it in, and he couldn't do it, and they deserved that. That was horrible. Otherwise, we would have a 4-0 week. The Saints blew out the Panthers. The Chiefs blew out the Redskins. And the Seahawks only lost by 2. So, it was a good week. The Seahawks followed suit. It seems like they blew out the 49ers at home, and then when they go to San Francisco, they lose by a small margin, usually 1 or 2 points. So that really worked out well. The Redskins, who we'll get into later, that was just an embarrassment, the whole thing. And the Saints rebounded very nicely at home and destroyed the Panthers.
Well, you got to hand it to the Big B. I mean, to come in on an underdog with a hook, even with an outright win by the favorite, you're either a really good pick or lucky.
Well, I think we know where to go with him.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure he thought, based on his gut, that the Seahawks were going to blow out the 49ers, but he came in there with the hook.
Yeah, we got lucky. The 49ers went for a field goal at the end of the game instead of the touchdown. If they had gone for the touchdown, they were covered by a larger spread. And instead, they just kicked the field goal because they wanted to run the clock out, and they only won by 2. So that worked out very well.
So basically, you had 2. If you can come in 2 out of 4 that are basically blowouts, so you're comfortable in those games, and then, the other 2 games could go either way, and you come in with a squeaker and then, a loss on one. That's what picking's all about. You're not going to have 4 blowouts.
No.
It ain't going to happen.
No, unless you really, really know something. We got the Chiefs and the Saints really did their jobs, especially the Chiefs. The Redskins are a mess, and which I'll get into a little bit later. And the Chiefs did their job and just destroyed them. That game was over at halftime. It was done.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so the overall, we seem to have this recurrence throughout the season where if we have a 4-0 week, we can get back to 500. So that tells you where we're headed for next week, unless we can turn the tide around and, get some more of the Big D guarantee coming with the streak here.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Get back to 500 with the last couple of weeks coming up, and then hopefully build on that during the playoffs.
Absolutely. Okay. So there you have a 4-0 week required to get back to 500, and we could pick it up down the stretch and come up with an actually winning season.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Let's have the Week 15 Badge of the Week.
Anything and anyone who has anything to do with the Washington Redskins. The fans, the players, the coach, the owner, everybody. First of all, the fans abandoned the game at halftime. They all left. There's a shot of the stadium. There was like 12 people left. Now, I understand the weather was horrible from Philadelphia to Washington last week. It was a freak snowstorm. But that's just inexcusable that everyone goes there, shows up, and then leaves at halftime anyway. Why'd you even bother to show up to begin with? The coach there...
that reminds me of the end of the Army-Navy game today.
Well, yeah, everyone was all wet from the rain. They wanted to get the hell out of there.
But I will say the cadets, the midshipmen, and the parents of the players were all still in the stadium at the end of the game.
Well, that's good. Yeah, show the support for their kids. But anyway, Mike Ratface Red Lobster Shanahan knows he's out. His son knows that he's going with him. So he doesn't care. So he benched Griffin, who's upset. So he's crying. And then you have the owner who was the genesis of all this about 17 years ago, I guess it is, when he bought the team. Ever since he bought the team, they have had nothing but despair for that franchise. I mean, that used to be one of the model franchises of the NFL, and since he took over, it's been they've been part of the laughingstock. I think they've only had 3 playoff appearances in 17 years under Dan Snyder's reign of terror. And just the whole thing is a joke. Everyone leaving, the quarterback bitching, the coach doing everything in his power to get fired so that way he gets paid $7 million next year to do nothing. It's ridiculous. It's not how you run a football team. It destroys the integrity of the league. It's ridiculous. They made an awful trade 2 years ago to get Griffin. I guess, or a year and a half ago, whatever it was. They traded 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks for him to get that pick from St. Louis. Now they're going to stink, and St. Louis is going to get a top 3 pick because of it this year. And now they're showcasing Kirk Cousins because they want to think they can get a first-round pick back for him. So it's just stupid. They're all ridiculous. So they win.
Now are they in line for Joe Football? Is that going to be the next?
I think it's Johnny Football.
Johnny, I'm sorry.
And he's probably going to be a mid-round pick anyway. But they don't have a first-round pick. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think he's going to go somewhere between 15 and 30. But they don't pick there anyway. They don't. They don't pick the second round. They blew it. I mean, they would probably get a chance to get a top 3 player, which is probably a linebacker from UCLA or that defensive end from South Carolina. And maybe Bridgewater if he comes out. But a lot of these quarterbacks are dropping out of the draft. There's been like 3 or 4 guys. One guy in LSU got hurt. A guy at Oregon staying in school. The guy at Baylor staying in school. Bridgewater might stay in school.
But wait, the Florida quarterback who's about to win the Heisman is going to be in the draft, right?
No, he's only a redshirt freshman. He's played 1 more season. I mean, he might be a top 10 pick, but not now. He can't go now. He still has to stay there and commit some more crimes. But it's,
the ladies' man.
Yeah, right. They said they might file a civil suit against him soon, but even though there's a lot of shenanigans going on there, but it's just they didn't play their cards very well and they blew it. They look like fools. They've kind of destroyed their franchise a little bit.
So there you have the Week 15 Badge of the Week being everyone and anyone who is associated in any way whatsoever with the Washington Redskins from the top down.
Except for the grounds crew people.
The field needs to be, turned into a soccer stadium or something.
Well, that's what happened to RFK.
Tell me about it.
But I think they're building one there now. I think they're gonna tear down RFK soon. That place is a dump. But
it reminds me of it reminds me of the stadium where Nelson Mandela's memorial service was held.
Yeah, that place is kind of a dump
I think
too.
It's the same architect.
Some of the seats are ripped out of that place. They showed it on TV. It was like, what is this? It was horrible. Well, whatever. And that fake sign language guy, that was bad too.
Oh, Africa. Come on now. We can do better than this.
Yeah, right. That was awful. That lunatic was right next to so many heads of state. He could have murdered 10 of them without anyone be able to do anything.
That was so sad.
Yeah. That was ridiculous. That guy said he saw angels flying onto the field while he was doing his fake sign language.
So we will now have the combined picks for Week 15 from Danny D.
All right, well, before I do have my combined pick, I'd like to thank my Aunt Karen and Uncle Ofair for these Eagle Cups, which I'll be using. And if Brian never shows up, he'll have one in the next 6 weeks when he decides to show up for the show again.
Nice.
So that's cool. Our first combined pick is Houston at Indianapolis. Indianapolis is favored by 5. This line actually went down from 5.5. Houston blows. They've lost 11 straight games. They fired their coach. Most of their good players are hurt. Andre Johnson, so that's a good player, doesn't care anymore. Their defense is terrible. Indianapolis got crushed last week by Cincinnati on the road. They don't play well on the road, and they're going to lose big time in the playoffs. After their initial home game, they'll probably get crushed the next week. If they have to play in Denver or New England, they're screwed. But for this game, we're going to take Indianapolis. As I said, -5. I think they should be able to win this game by a touchdown without really much of an issue. The Texans have not played well. They have no motivation. They know the coaching staff is gone. They know a lot of the players are going to be gone. They know it's over. I think that's why sometimes you don't fire coaches till the end of the season because the guys know they're still playing for their jobs. Where in this case, because you fired a coach before the end of the season, it kind of just waves the white flag and everyone knows that guys are going to be gone. Without trying to keep that a mystery here. And Wade Phillips tried his best, but Indianapolis is a good team. They have to win this game to try to solidify their position a little bit here. And just after last week's terrible performance, for some reason they don't play well in the first half of games. We don't understand that. But the Texans' defense is awful, so hopefully it should give them some opportunities to get out of their funk and hopefully win this game easily.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now have the second combined pick, Week 15. Danny D, let's have it.
All right. Our second combined pick is New Orleans at St. Louis. This is obviously another game indoors for the Saints. The spread is 6.5 in favor of the road Saints. This spread actually went up from 5.5 to 6.5, but it really doesn't make much of a difference. Still have to win by a touchdown anyway, so it really doesn't matter. We believe that New Orleans will win this game and win it fairly easily. They got back on a roll last week against Carolina. This is a big game for them. If they want to maintain the number 2 seed rather in the conference, they need to keep on winning because they haven't clinched anything yet. They haven't even clinched the division. Because if they lose this game and Carolina wins, they're back in the same situation again, and they play Carolina in a couple weeks here, I think, either the week after, a week after that, something like that. So this is a big game for them, and because it's indoors, they don't have to worry about the elements because they haven't played well in cold weather at all this year. In New York and in Seattle, they were brutal. So this game really favors Drew Brees and his receivers. I believe Brees will have a big day, and the Saints will win this game fairly easily against the Rams, who kind of they put a fork in their season last week against Arizona with an awful performance. They have a backup quarterback who isn't very good and finally exposed for being as such. So I believe the Saints will easily cover this 6.5 point spread on the road in St. Louis.
Who dat? Drew Brees! Oh, yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, your Week 15 picks are in the books. Pick your Colts and your Saints. We will now have a word from our sponsor. We will now have the Week 15 guaranteed Danny D pick. He's on a streak, 3 out of 4. Let's have the Danny D guarantee.
All right, the big D guarantee for this week is Kansas City -5 at Oakland. Oakland's season is basically over. A couple more guys went on IR this week. They're on their 5th string running back. They got blown out by the Jets, who can't score. in at the Meadowlands last week, 37-17. 27, even though the game really wasn't that close. Kansas City got back on track by demolishing the Redskins in awful conditions. I believe Kansas City is back a little bit here. And then Oakland's just a pitiful team. So because of that, I think Kansas City can win this game by a touchdown at least. They played well on offense, defense, special teams last week, and if they put another solid performance together against Oakland, this should not be a problem. This could be another game that's over by halftime because Oakland just has nothing. They're not playing for nothing. As I said, most of their good players are on IR at this point. Their starting quarterback's Matt McGloin. I don't know what that really does. They just have a lot of issues, and hopefully there's no explosions at the stadium in terms of sewage or anything like that. But I think the Chiefs are going to blow them out. So I would take the Chiefs this week, -5 as a road favorite.
So there you have it. Your big Danny D comeback guarantee is in the books for Week 15. We will now have the Big B guarantee from the Ran and Spear public drunk himself, Big Drunken B. The laugh, I won't say the life of the Christmas party, I will say the laugh of the Christmas party. Go ahead, drunk.
All right, the Big B for Week 16, or is it Week 15? Week 15, right? The Big B for Week 15 is going to be Chicago. It's a pick'em. They're playing at Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland's very good. Their offense is not very good. Now the Bears' defense isn't very good either, but the Cleveland Browns' offense isn't very good. So I think that's a watch, and I think Chicago's offense is playing really well with their two big receivers, and Jay Cutler is coming back this week, and they have something to play for. They're tied for first place right now with the Lions, and there's no spread, so it's a pick'em, and I really like pick'ems, and I think the Bears have more to play for, and I think they're going to win.
A team that is known as the Bears.
So there you have your first guarantee pick, or actually the second guarantee pick for Week 15 from the Big Boo-Roo, who is 7-7 on his guarantees. But I have to think of a more severe name for Dan, who is actually much worse. I think he's at what Dan, 4-10 or something?
Yeah, but I think I've gotten 3 of the last 4, so I'm making a slight comeback.
He's hot. He's hot.
I still get the dunce cap for the year, but
That's right. He gets the Badge of the Year award. So we will now have the Week 15 man violation from the violator-in-chief himself, Big Brian B.
Actually, this week, my man violation, it was Dan Kaiserman's idea, Big D himself. We were at the Christmas party, and one of the co-workers, when they came around and asked for his order, he didn't know what cut of meat to order, what the different cuts of the meat were, and he didn't know the different temperatures to get them cooked at. And then when the waitress gave him his steak, he sent it back and said it was the wrong temperature, even though he told the waitress the wrong temperature. So the man violation is not knowing the cuts of meat. If you're a man, you should know ribeye and prime rib. So that is the man violation for Week 15, brought to you by Dan Kaiserman.
Let's see. The only one I'm scared of is the Bears pick. The Browns are not a bad team. It's not as bad as Brian made them out to be. Their offense has played a lot better last week, and Josh Gordon has set a record for the most receiving yards in a 3-game period. I think it's going to be a tough game. I mean, fortunately, it's a pick'em. There's no spread here, so if the Bears win, they just win outright and we're good. But I think that's going to be a tougher game than what Brian made it out to be. Even though the Browns have lost 7 of the last 8, so I still think the Bears are going to win. But I think that's going to be the toughest game of the 3. As I said, the Rams really have nothing to play for. They don't care. The Texans have nothing to play for. They don't care. And the Raiders have nothing to play for. It's the old Scott O'Hearn theory. You pick the worst teams and you pick against them.
And that's why they have people in Vegas called bookies that make sure you never win
Yeah, right.
by betting that way.
That's right. I mean, I'm actually surprised some of these spreads aren't higher, especially for the Chiefs. I'm surprised that's not a touchdown at least, because the Raiders are so bad. And I think they would want to make it a touchdown to make the game a little more attractive to take the Raiders. I'm surprised it's 5. And I'm also a little shocked that the Bears is a pick 'em. I'm surprised the Browns aren't a slight favorite, just because it's Jay Cutler's first game back from being off for like a month and a half or 7 weeks, something like that.
You mean you're not surprised that the Bears aren't a slight favorite? You said the Browns.
No, I think the Browns should be a slight favorite because you have a rusty quarterback coming back. They're going to be playing in very cold conditions there tomorrow. It's snowing a lot in Cleveland tonight, and it's going to be very cold there. It's going to be like in the 20s with the wind. It's going to be ugly. And the Browns have a better defense than the Bears do. And I just think it's going to be a little tough for Cutler to get in a rhythm and playing in tough conditions after being off all those weeks. And the Browns have a decent secondary with T.J. Ward, the safety, and Joe Hayden, the corner. So they're not a pushover. But as I said, they have lost 7 of their last 8. So it still doesn't mean I think the Bears are going to lose the game. I just think it's going to be a tough game, a hard-fought game. Whereas the other games have more potential to be blowouts.
Now the Bears are coming off a short work week from a game where they couldn't lose, rolling out the red carpet for the Ditka, right?
Yeah, they crushed the Cowboys, who are horrible. The Cowboys are horrible. That defense is just a joke. But they benched McCown, who's the quarterback who played last week, and he was wonderful. I don't understand why they want to ride the hot hand at this point. Then if he starts to fail, then you bring in Cutler. I don't understand bringing Cutler cold. A few days of practice doesn't make 6 or 7 weeks, whatever it is, of rust just go away. It's not game conditions. The other guys aren't trying to kill him like they would be in Cleveland. And Cleveland's defense has only allowed one 300-yard passer the whole season. That was last week, and that was Tom Brady, who was cut above Jay Cutler. And the Browns should have won last week, really. I mean, they lost on a couple of freak plays at the end of the game. But that's what happens to the Browns, though. I mean, they figure out ways to lose games. So, I think the Bears are going to be a good pick, but I just think it'll be a tight game. I mean, if there was a spread, it might have been smart to go with the Browns in terms of the spread. As I said, I still think the Bears are going to win. But the other games have more blowout potential because those 3 teams are just awful. They're completely awful.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You're picking your Saints Colts for the combined picks and your Bears Chiefs for the guarantees. I mean, think about it. How hard could it be to commandeer one of those Salvation Army kettles and a Santa suit? This is a low initial investment to be able to win on these games, folks. Oh, and you need a bell, some type of a cowbell. Be friendly. The worst case that will happen, there's no ID check on these Salvation Armies. So go on out and get some money in your Salvation Army kettle, place some bets on these teams, and
score with Big Pick 4.